Second.
We have a second. Second is Deb. Julie, will you take us through roll call, please?
Deb,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Julie, yes. Motion moved.
I am going to call the meeting to order. So I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to stand for the pledge, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Before we move on to the next part, I do believe we have a motion to amend our agenda.
I make a motion to amend the agenda to add Katie Riley to 1D under call to order items.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll add her there. Okay, so looks like we have a bunch of teachers. This is one of the most exciting things we get to do as board members. So, the first one is Jessica.
Good evening. I'm enthusiastically recommending for your approval employment of Mrs. Jessica Hitchcock for a teaching position. For the 2022-23 school year, she will be assigned as a science teacher at Williamston Middle School. So we reviewed resumes and we went through an extensive interview process, and the educators selected Mrs. Hitchcock as the candidate to recommend for this position. And as you look at her resume, you'll notice that she has a history of working at Weberville. She was a teacher at Weberville, science teacher for 12 years. And in addition to her teaching experience, she also assumed the roles of department chair. So she was department chair for the science department for the secondary level, grades 6 through 12, where she went into adopting a new curriculum and also worked on that implementation as a department leader. And then she also served as a mentor for a number of teachers, and she was also a class advisor for 2 grades at the middle school, and then also assumed volleyball coaching positions. So she's a very ambitious candidate that we're bringing to you tonight. Her bachelor's degree is from Central Michigan University, where she holds a Bachelor of Science degree and a major in integrated science, and then a minor in reading at the elementary level. There are references that describe Mrs. Hitchcock as self-driven, a great fit for middle school, and a person who is super positive when working with students and adults. Her immediate supervisor described Mrs. Hitchcock as a teacher leader who works well with others to obtain positive results, and she is always focused on what is best for students. It's my recommendation that the board consider Mrs. Jessica Hitchcock for a science teaching position at Williamston Middle School.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Okay. So we're going to take these one at a time because I think you deserve your spot in the sun. That's how I like to do it. But then we will get up and congratulate all of you when we're done. So if you hang tight with us for 1 minute and then you can go. So do I have a motion for Jessica?
I make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education hire Jessica Hitchcock to be a teacher starting with the 2022-23 school year.
Second?
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations. Very
Yay.
exciting. Thank you. Okay, then we have, I believe you probably will do Ann and Samantha.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
And tonight I am pleased to recommend to the board to approve a contract for Mrs. Ann Feldposh as a special education teacher to begin the 2022-23 school year. Unfortunately, Ann was unable to make it. She had plans that she just couldn't get out of. So I'm going to bring her back to the board to introduce her again. At least you can visibly see her in August. But Mrs. Feldposh earned her Bachelor's of Art degree with Learning Disabilities as her major from Michigan State University. Her MA is from Central Michigan in specific learning disabilities, but additionally, Mrs. Feldposh has 30 graduate hours in an inclusion program. So that's very different than most. For the past 17 years, Mrs. Feldposh has been employed as a high school special ed teacher with the Okemos Community Schools. During our interview, Mrs. Feldposh's experience showed caring, knowledge, and a love of teaching. It was all evident to everybody that was on the committee. And the committee did unanimously recommend for a final interview with Dr. Spina and myself. When speaking with her director, she articulated many times that Mrs. Feldposh was a very dedicated, highly effective teacher. During the interview, Mrs. Feldposh expressed excitement to work for the district because her own children attend here and she lives here. So with no reservation, I recommend the board approve Mrs. Feldposh hire as a special education teacher for Williamston Community Schools.
Do we have any questions? All right, can I get a motion for Ms. Feldposh?
I make the motion that the Williamston Board of Education hire Ann Feldposh to be a teacher beginning the 2022-23 school year.
Do I have a second?
Second?
I'm going to give it to Dave.
Okay.
I heard his voice first,
Yep.
sorry. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the next one, Samantha Boggs.
Boggs.
Did I say your name correctly?
Yep.
Boggs?
Yes. So tonight, I also recommend to the board to hire Mrs. Samantha Boggs for the school psychologist district position to begin 2022-2023 school year. Mrs. Boggs' experience working with children includes 2 years in Japan for a Navy and Child Youth program, and she also spent 2 years as a special education paraeducator for the Huron Valley Schools while completing her Bachelor of Art in Psychology at Central Michigan University. Both positions sparked her interest in going back to school to work with students with special needs, and in 2020, Mrs. Boggs did that, and she began her MA and a specialist degree in school psychology from the University of Detroit Mercy. Mrs. Boggs recently completed her internship with Huron Valley Schools. Her experience includes 4 years working additionally at a clinic as a board-certified behavior analyst. So she is going for a BCBA. Mrs. Boggs went through an extensive interview process. The first was a screener with our current psychologist. The second was with a large group of teachers, administrators, ancillary staff, and the third was with Dr. Spina and myself. On the team's recommendation, Dr. Spina and I did an intensive interview. Comments from her references described her ability to develop a wonderful rapport with her students, her ability to quickly understand and process procedures, and her attention to detail. Her professionalism and organizational skills were also highlighted. With no reservation, I recommend the board approve Mrs. Boggs' hire as our district school psychologist for Williamston Community Schools.
Very exciting. School psychologist is in hot demand here.
All over it.
With a BCBA.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay, can I have a motion to hire Samantha?
I move that the Williamston Board of Education hire Samantha Boggs to be a school psychologist beginning with the 2022-23 school year.
Second?
But Julie, was that you?
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then I think Dr. Doe is for Katie
Riley.
Riley?
Good
Alright.
evening. I am recommending Miss Katie Riley be hired by the board for an English position at WHS for the 22-23 school year. Ms. Riley has spent the last 6 years teaching at South Haven High School, where she is focused on English 10 and AP Literature. 3 years prior to that, she taught at a private high school. In talking with her references, specifically her current principal and her former principal, both of them spoke very highly of her, and both made the comment unprompted that her current principal said that he was very sorry to see her go and would hire her back if had the opportunity, and her former principal also said that he would hire her back if given the opportunity. So when references say that, speaks very highly of the candidate. Ms. Riley, outside of the classroom, has been involved with both professional work like curriculum development, but also work with students as a class advisor. She is a graduate of Grand Valley State, where she has a bachelor's in English, with a focus on secondary education, and she also has a master's degree in learning and technology. So with all of that said, we think she is an ideal candidate for our open English position at WHS, and I enthusiastically recommend her to the board for consideration.
All right. Any questions, Dr. Hill? All right, can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education hire Katie Riley to be a teacher starting the 2022-23 school year.
Seconded.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you. Not for our thank you. No. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let him bridge. Yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Love it. Thank you.
I know, exciting. Really exciting.
Thank you.
It's always exciting for me to hire new teachers, see their fresh faces. Next is open for citizen comments, and we don't have any citizens in the audience. Well, that's not true, we do. I guess you or James can have employees in the audience if you'd like to come up. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Adam for celebrations.
All right, well, no shocker, I'll start with Saturday's event. So it's been a heck of the last, 3-4 years with athletics. We were chatting over the weekend that I don't even know what it's like to have like teams that just kind of like start the playoffs and lose in the first game and like you're done. Like our athletic season seemed to go an extra month or two for each sport. So I don't know, Dave, if you can click on that. I tried to put, so obviously we're talking about our girls soccer winning the state championship on Saturday afternoon in, I would say, dramatic fashion, scoring 2 goals in 10 minutes, including one with about a minute to go. So I put a bunch of photos up on the website. Most of those are from Dave Ferguson. I also put a bunch of links to different media stories, of which there were many. And a video, I was able to get back in time to meet them at the Four Corners as they were coming back into town. And there was a pretty cool entrance back in the Williamston on Saturday afternoon for them. So very proud of them for all their accomplishments. It was really fun to watch all the playoffs. They had to come back from being down, I think, 3 of the last 4 games. And went on penalty kicks last Wednesday at a game that I don't think we got home until after 11 o'clock. Playing on turf in 90-degree weather. So they persevered through a lot and brought home the trophy. So a lot going on to recognize them. Obviously had to work quick. So We just got the boys basketball championship road sign up on Friday, and I already emailed Eugene over the weekend and said, hey, we need another one. I know Mayor Press is going to produce the yard signs. Will's already working on a bunch of t-shirts, and they are being recognized in the parade on Saturday. I believe they'll be a part of that as well, along with the boys basketball team. So trying to get as much recognition to them as possible, given that a lot of those kids have been out of high school already for a month. But anyway, really exciting, and just to go along with the way all our sports teams have done in the recent past. We had state qualifiers for track, and then we also had the boys baseball team won districts, tennis went to states, golf went to states. Well, that's even prior to, I'm just talking spring.
Oh, you're just doing this side.
Yeah, just spring. Tennis went to states, and softball team, I think, had their best season in years. So just another successful run for Williamston Athletics, culminating with another state championship. So good times. I don't know, just a really fun day. We talked about graduation at our last meeting, but since then I was able to get some photographs. I think a lot of those are candidates. My understanding is those are available to families if they want to download them. But we got a good shot there of the, what was it? Cap toss, and just some other highlights from that event. I want to thank in advance, and I know this is on the agenda for later on, but I do want to thank in advance our technology staff under James Doyne's leadership, and he's back there in the back, and then our custodial and maintenance team under Brandon Weingart's leadership. As I've mentioned before, our instructional staff and our students, most of them, not all, but most of our students are home for the summer, and that's prime time for those two gentlemen and their teams. And as I think I told some of you, on the last day of school, the buses left, and like immediately behind them came the construction vehicles. I mean, they were like within minutes on site, and they have wasted no time getting started. They've completely destroyed two of our offices in the last 5 days, and look forward to seeing what they'll look like when they're rebuilt. But it's amazing what about a half dozen guys with sledgehammers can do in about 3 hours. I also want to thank the maintenance team, Brent and Trent in particular. They were here all day yesterday up to about 10:30 last night to have that transformer, working with DT to have the transformer. So holiday weekend, I think it's just another example of the dedication of our team. I got here by 10 yesterday morning, and they had already been here for hours. Working with contractors, they pulled all the food out of the elementary freezers and moved it over to the middle school. And so definitely want to acknowledge those two gentlemen for putting in a very long day and being back here this morning at 5 o'clock to make sure the air conditioning was running to the extent that it can run. It's a little iffy still, but we got through the day. Summer camp started today, and that's a celebration that we're kind of back to like what a normal summer program would look like. It's sold out, so to speak, and a lot of happy campers this morning, literally happy campers on their first day coming in for that program, and kids look like they had a lot of fun and watching from outside my window, and off to a good start there. And then lastly, an event that's taking place right now, which obviously we can't attend, but the Citizen of the Year dinner is this evening as part of Jubilee. It's sponsored by Rotary, and Tom Lewis and Steve Horn, our two state championship winning coaches, are in attendance and being recognized at that event this evening at Brookshire. So that is celebrations. Pending any of your questions?
Any questions for Adam?
Not a question, just a congratulations, as you were saying, to the soccer team, but a commendation for the work of Steve. I mean, he's been with the district for many years, worked really hard to try to get the team where it needed to be, just like Tom did, and it paid off. So congratulations to the whole team, but also to Steve for his work in the district.
Yeah, very nice.
So I gave, let me get down to it here. There's a, I don't know if it's, might be further down in board book. Do you have somewhere in your packet? Oh, there it is, okay.
Like the
PG?
grid?
Yeah,
Talking about page
it's the summary of summer projects.
Yeah, yeah, PG.
Okay. So I gave you a recap of the different projects that are taking place this summer. As you can see, it's quite a few things. The numbers on some of those have fluctuated a bit just based on some more updated events. And then obviously there's allowances built into some of the bigger projects. So hopefully the cost will actually come down on some of those if everything goes to plan. One good example is I believe the gutters at Discovery, which were part of the initial bid, when they went out to assess those, I think they decided they didn't need to be replaced. You might remember 6 years ago, I think we had to shut Discovery down for a couple of days because we had a mold scare, and part of that was due to the way the downspouts and the gutter system was working. So those had gotten addressed at that time. But as you can see, just a lot of work. A couple updates on progress of these larger projects. So last week, like I said, almost immediately after the kids left, the work at the roof at Discovery started. Remember, there's two companies working on that because the roof has two sections, and so we had two different bids. But the roofers have been out there like, I don't know, 14, 15 hours a day, including over the weekend working on it. So they're definitely making good progress. As I mentioned already, the demolition has started of the Kids Corner Little Hornets office and Discovery office. I think I sent you a photo of what the Discovery office looks like at this point. It's unrecognizable. And obviously that work is going to continue over the course of the summer. Their scheduled completion date is August 11th. And there's a lot of other pieces that need to follow up right after that's done, including the security system, the upgraded security system that we're putting in. So we'll be following that closely over the summer, but they've made excellent progress at this point. Starting today at the middle school, some of the preliminary work for the high school or the middle school boiler replacement project. That's one of the major HVAC upgrades. And then also there's, I think, about $20,000 or so of carpet that's being installed at the middle school. So some of the classrooms the carpets are very old, putting it lightly. And then we're also going to carpet the remainder of the office. If you might remember last year, we started with the main office itself, putting furniture in there, so it's a much more, it's a much nicer looking office space to walk into for parents and guests. Either tomorrow or Wednesday, the work is going to begin on the parking lot repairs. And so you'll notice that as you leave today, the middle school parking lot and some of the others are in desperate need of upgrades. And so it's not a complete repaving, they're doing spots. But there's a crater at the Explorer parking lot that I think a full-sized adult can fall into. So that's part of those repairs. So that should start Tuesday or Wednesday this week. The work on the high school gym floor started last week, but then moving into the end of this week, Wednesday and Thursday. The other gym floors throughout the district will be addressed. Starting next week, there's going to be a couple of additional doors that we're going to be working on as far as putting in the card reader systems and securing a couple other entrances and internal parts of our buildings. And then there's a couple other pieces to that we're also going to be adding some additional security to some of our interior doors. Getting a couple new cameras at Discovery, and then at the end of July, painting project for the pool and the staircase leading up to the weight room, and at the back wall as you walk into the athletic entrance, which for some reason was painted like more rust color, I don't know, but anyway, that's going to get repainted. Once all that's repainted, then on that back wall, and this might take a little while to get it the way we want it, but the idea is to put up some new graphics, like some larger graphics on that back wall. And then as you walk up the staircase going to the weight room, we're going to build like a wall of champions there. We're going to have some of our state championship teams put up there. We'll have like a map put up there, and just some new graphics that just to make that more aesthetically pleasing for folks walking up to use the weight room. And then we'll replace a couple of the student athletes' photos in the actual weight room itself. And then finally, kind of going back to June, either this week or next week, we're also going to replace the doors leading into the fitness center from the high school, or leading into the high school from the fitness center, I guess depending on which way you were going. That double doors have been broken. You might have seen all the signs on those. Those will be completely replaced. And then the high school teachers lounge, again, either later this week or next week, that's going to get completely redone. Phase 1 was putting in the floor, which was done over winter, spring break this year. Phase 2 is the cabinets, the painting. We have new chairs we're putting in there and some signage. So the high school teachers lounge should look pretty sharp when the staff comes back from summer break.
So did you say that we're taking those cabinets out or just taking them?
They're already out.
They're out, we're
Yeah.
taking them out.
And in
Nice.
case you didn't know, the teacher's lounge at the high school used to be the home ec room, right? So there were 5 refrigerators, 5 stoves, which are all like super old stoves.
Probably don't work.
Cabinets with all kinds of spatulas and so, I mean, it's just all this stuff that was in there, right? It was really, so anyway, so all that's gonna get taken out. And then we already have the new cabinets there, new chairs. Like I said, the floor was redone. And so for those of you that were serving at the staff lounge or the staff teacher appreciation lunch, it's just not a very nice space. And so when Mitch Lutski became president of the WEA last summer, we met. That was one of the things he said that he thought the high school staff would really appreciate would be making that space look nicer. And so we've figured out a way to get that done, and it should be all set for them when they come back in August. At least that's the plan. So obviously a lot of other projects, but I just wanted to give you an update on some of the timelines for some of the more significant ones. Any questions I can answer regarding anything that's on that list?
It's gonna be pretty exciting to come back in the fall and see all of it.
Oh, one thing quickly too, just a quick alibi. Jim Davis, this comes out of the audit, right, that you heard back in November. So we had that food service balance that we need to spend down, right? And so he's been working on putting in things that we can use that money for. The initial idea was to put the walk-in freezer in the back of the refrigerator unit, and then the quote came back for that, which was astronomical. So that's not going to happen, sort of a bond. But he is adding some nice upgrades, some of the serving lines you can see towards the bottom of that memo, and just some nice things like I didn't know what an open air merchandiser was, but it's like the airports where you have the sandwiches and sodas and stuff, and then it's not an enclosed refrigeration thing, but it's like that kind of open where you can grab stuff off. So he's adding one of those to the high school and upgrading the serving lines. And so we do need at some point, again, this would probably be part of a bond extension down the road, but we need to kind of restart our cafeteria spaces and our kitchen spaces in particular. They're just too small to do the kind of food preparation and prepare the kinds of healthy meals that we would like to do for our students. But this is a start within the means that we currently have available. So those are some projects that are below the threshold for the board to formally approve, but I did want to point them out as he has put a lot of time into them. And now I'm done.
Yes.
A question. How many picnic tables do you get for $14,500? Just curious.
I think the high school added maybe 4 or 5 of the outdoor picnic tables that are in the courtyard. And the student government had bought maybe 3 or 4 a few years ago. So now there's enough tables out there where you can go out and have there's enough space for the kids to go out there and use them, or quite a few kids. In fact, the high school administrators put on a lunch for their staff a couple weeks ago, and all the staff was able to go out and meet outside. So it's quite nice. The elementary, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but they look different. They're actually, there's one that's already out there, so they're going to order more of those. But it has the pillar that gets cemented down into the ground, and then the 4 benches that sit around the outside, because we didn't want to put them new picnic tables outside where they could be moved or walk away or something like that. So the high school ones can move them around because they're in that courtyard space. The elementary ones will just get kind of cemented down to the ground. And then it can either serve as a place to eat outside or an outdoor classroom. We put back a long time ago when I was the principal, we built in the first outdoor classroom in that first kind of garden area right behind the office, and then there's that second space that used to just be completely overgrown with different things. So all that's been kind of re-landscaped, there's been grass put in, and then that exit door will walk right out into that space, and then there's like a little pathway there, and then the picnic tables are going to go along the sides of that, so it should be a nice place for teachers and students to use once it's
Very
finished.
Any other questions about our summer projects?
No?
All right. Do you want to move on to your superintendent's report?
So, superintendent's report, I got a couple things. As far as upcoming meetings, I did send the survey out to schedule the special meeting for July. I understand historically that's a tough meeting for all the board members to be able to attend. We usually have a couple folks that are short. It happens every year, but the primary purpose of that is the school bond loan fund. Although we might have a couple other little things, but it won't be on a full agenda like this meeting. And then,
Can I say one thing on that? I noticed on there that, and I was one of the ones that didn't do it right, but it looks like everybody is responding to the first 4 dates that are on there, but there's actually 4 additional dates as well.
Yeah, you have to scroll all the way to
You
the
got to
bottom.
scroll all the way.
Yeah, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom.
No.
yeah.
Because after I
tried to give
submitted,
as
I
many
said,
options
oh,
as possible.
there were more dates.
Oh, so can we go back in then?
Yeah.
So,
Amend it?
Yeah, you can go back in and amend your.
Yeah, I think I put like
scroll
12 days down just
Yeah,
because I
there's a whole
know.
lot.
I thought you
summer
wanted to be in that
schedules.
1 week.
Was that?
I thought you wanted to hold it within that one.
Oh, no, I think I
One of
gave
those
us,
4 days.
I think I gave us 3-4 weeks to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it almost is the whole month.
Okay.
So.
So I just wanted to bring that up so
Yes,
that
good point.
if
You
anybody
need to
else
scroll all the way
made that
down.
mistake, that,
Thank you, Chris.
This does need to be done in July, though. We do need to get it done. So if you could scroll all the way down and make sure you make your selections.
Another note, I was able to speak with, present to the Williamston Township trustees and the city council in the last week and a half. And gave them, I've tried to get back in pre-COVID, I would go every year at the end of the year and kind of give them an update on the school year. So I went back and did that. But then the other piece that I'm continuing to emphasize with them is the significance of the housing shortage in the district. As you know, this has been like my #1 macro level issue for the district since I started this position. Obviously, that's getting things done there is outside of our purview as the leadership team, governance team of the district. But you know, I continue to emphasize that we have been able to rebound the district from its financial position, challenging financial position, by marketing the district and bringing in families seeking better education for their children from outside of our community. And it's worked well, right? I mean, other than last year with the weird COVID thing, we've had the highest number of enrollments, highest percentage of enrollments of any district in the area for 40 straight years, taking last year out of the equation. But it's also a non-sustainable model, right? So we're balancing our budget every year on hypothetical school of choice enrollments or non-resident enrollments. And in order to create a sustainable student population, we need to have housing inventory for those families to come and actually live in the district. And so and it's not just the school that benefits from that, it's also our businesses. Like I tell the chamber board all the time, right? There's like 400 families that drive right past your businesses, heading back to Hazlet or Fowlerville or Perry, wherever they're coming from, to do their shopping because that's where their house is. So they don't shop at your stores. And of course, it also helps the city and the township in expanding their tax base, which provides more services or infrastructure upgrades. So I think that's probably something we'll need to continue to talk more about, maybe in policy or more as a committee of the whole, or however the board would like to do that. But I just kind of extend the invitation, like, you know, we don't want to be DeWitt. It's not this massive uncontrolled growth model, but we need to do something. There needs to be some kind of controlled, planned growth to allow a more stable population and a more stable student population for the school district. So Yeah, I mean, I do get the sense there's an understanding of the rationale for why that needs to be. And I also understand on the other side, there's this, you know, folks in Williamston don't want to look like the Med, right? Which is subdivisions all over the place. Again, not that that's bad, it's just that, you know, the Williamston community is different from some of these other communities. And so completely understand that. So it's not about just unchecked, uncontrolled growth all over the place, but there needs to be something, right?
Right.
Something that's done to create a more long-term sustainable population base and have Williamston be a place where if you're a young working family, you can afford to come in and own a home and be an active and involved member of the community here versus driving in from somewhere else and then driving back out. And we have families that are driving 20, 30, 40 minutes one way to get their kids here, and then 20, 30, 40 minutes back to get home, and that's not counting practice, rehearsals, and you know, all the other things. And of course, if your kids' friends are here, that means you're driving back on the weekend to go to birthday parties and whatever other events that are going on. So, I mean, kudos, and you know, greatly appreciate our school of choice families. I mean, that's dedication. Their active involvement in the district is awesome. But you know, if they're interested, we'd like to hopefully be able to work collaboratively with those other governance organizations and just find a way that you know we can add some more inventory in a well thought out and controlled way. So I think there's an understanding. I think they're looking at trying to balance Williamston is not going to be some of these other communities with how do we smartly add you know, those additional houses. So they're not. No, I wouldn't say they're closed off to it. It's just you know it's a process. How do we do it? And it's more of a approach I'm trying to take. It's just more of an invitation that you know like we'd be happy to collaborate and talk more about you know how that might look. So, but very receptive and open-minded and you know, good folks.
Good.
Trying to do the best thing for that community. So staffing, I think that's just, I'm not going to give specifics on that because it's very fluid and it's a long summer. I think you made 4 great hires at the beginning of the meeting. There are a couple additional positions that we're going to be looking to hire specifically at our elementary campus. Those are probably the next ones to come through. Interviewed a great teacher late this afternoon. It was too late to get her here. We get all the paperwork done before we bring her to the board, but that might be a July hire, and then we're looking at a couple lower elementary teachers potentially as well. So it's a long summer. Things will continue to change, and I'll keep you updated as that occurs. And then moving over to our annual requirement to report out these data. There's some firsts for this year. The use of an EpiPen, I can't remember ever including that on this report, but we had 2 of those this year, both at our middle school, and both were involved our school nurse, so it was great timing that she would be here and be able to assist with that. I do think these data are somewhat misleading for a few reasons, but I think the biggest thing is these are actually down a little bit in terms of some of the numbers, disciplinary numbers from the last full school year we had, which I guess would have been, what, 18-19. I don't think they accurately reflect the challenges that many students are dealing with. I don't think they accurately reflect the struggles with mental health, the return to school for kids that were away for a year and a half, and some of the additional support needs that we're tending to. As I've mentioned previously, this is by far the toughest year I've had in 20-something years in education. I think most of the educators in the district, in particular, are administrators who have just really had their hands full this year. Our social workers, counselors, a lot of the support staff that are tending to some of these crises, which are significant, have just gone above and beyond. And then just teachers in their classrooms trying to find ways to support kids that really need help, mentorship and guidance, and someone to listen to. above and beyond learning math from social studies. So it's been a challenge for everyone. So I think take these data with a grain of salt. This was a exceptionally challenging year. The team did a great job, but it's been tough.
Any questions about this from Adam? Okay. Moving on, we do not have any board committee reports, so we're into discussion. The first one is handbook revisions and proposals, and I'm gonna have that start with Adam.
So high school is proposing 2 additional amendments to their handbook. This was based on things that they observed after their initial presentation. So the first is a change in when seniors' last day is at the end of the year, moving it up 5 days from the previous endpoint. And Dr. Delp has laid out some of the rationale for that in your packet. And then the second amendment is clarifying something that's already an existing practice, but just kind of codifying it within official board policy, in that high school students enrolled in Michigan virtual courses, that their end date, because those are often modular classes that can be somewhat self-paced, that they would end or be required to end and have those completed in keeping with the official district calendar. And obviously for students who are seniors, that would imply that they would need to have their NPU classes completed, just like any other class, 72 hours prior to graduation in order to be able to walk. So those are their 2 proposed changes.
Okay, I've had a couple people reach out to me and talk to me about the last day of school. So I'd like to kind of flip this, and can we talk about the Michigan virtual one? I feel like that might be a little simpler one. We might have more questions on the last day of school for seniors. So is there any, any question, any discussion, any clarifications for Adam on this? I just want to, so if graduation was, I think graduation was the 3rd this year. So they would have to have all of their work done on that Thursday, turned in by 3 p.m.
And this is already standing practice.
They've already done it, we're just adding it.
The mentor teachers who are Williamston teachers that support the kids in those classes, who are taking, the actual instructor is the Michigan virtual instructor. But we have teachers that oversee and provide like mentorship and support. And those teachers already communicate with families and students that those are the end dates. So it's standing practice, it's just
We're just now putting
it
it.
more official and standardizing it by putting it in board policy.
So are there any questions, concerns, thoughts about this portion of the handbook revision and proposal? Nothing on Michigan virtual.
The only question I might have, is there any opportunity for the AP exam results to come in later than a week? Do we grade that? 1 week after the AP exam ends, so do we have to have that grade come in, and does somebody else grade that?
No, for the AP exam, that's separate from our graduation requirement, because there's also a class. It's also a class. So there's 2
Right.
things going on. There's a Williamston class for credit, and then there's the AP exam, which students have the option to take if they so choose. And how they do on the AP exam isn't necessarily, well, it should be connected to how well they do in the class. But again, that's one shot at one test on one day, and obviously the class is assessing the students' learning over the entire semester.
Okay.
So they could.
Thank you.
So they could take, if they were doing a Michigan virtual AP, I don't know.
But the AP dates are pretty standardized across the
Yeah,
country.
I know they're really standardized, and I know
But they
somebody else. But it doesn't have, they only have, it's only a week within that test, not that they have to take the test, complete it, have a grade back, all that kind
Or
of
they don't
stuff.
even take the test at all.
Yeah, or they don't, which a lot.
But they still could take the test and still have stuff due
Mhm.
in the class that
Yep.
needs to be done
Yeah.
by the 30th.
Yeah, they could get a 5 on the test and not have their class completed. I mean,
They still have to
I
complete the
doubt that
class.
would happen, but it's possible.
Any other
All right.
questions on this Michigan virtual portion? Okay. Are we comfortable to move that to the whenever our July meeting is to vote on?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the online Michigan virtual, we can move that to vote. Sorry. The next part of this is the last day for seniors. Anybody want to, start discussion, open up questions for Adam?
Yeah, I'll start. I have some things that I think that this board needs to consider when looking at this proposal. First, I have quite a few, so I'll try to remember all of it. But the first is when looking at the point 2 that several neighboring Ingham ISD districts, their last day is 2 weeks. Our last day is 2 weeks later than them. That's a little misguided information because at least 2 of those start a week earlier than our district does. So I think that that's a little misleading. And if this is adopted and seniors get out, their proposed last day would be the 19th, which is a week after the AP exams. I'm concerned that either teachers have to move up. So I'm thinking of classes that have mixed juniors and seniors. So we'll just take calculus for an example. So that teacher would either have to make sure that the course is done by the 19th, so that those juniors don't have anything left to do for the remaining, 3 weeks? Or those seniors are done, but they're missing the last 3 weeks of that course. And I think that that is something that we need to think about, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, the one other thing that we have to keep in mind here, though, is that it's not just a class like calculus, but it'd be like AP psychology. So any class that would have a mixture of underclassmen and seniors
Yeah, I was just using
is,
calculus as an example.
is in the
but
same
yeah.
boat.
Yeah.
Is that once they take that AP exam, anybody that's left,
Yeah.
it's basically, there's not a lot of stuff going on. I saw that in an AP class this fall, this spring with my own daughter, that after they took the exam, there was a lot of time that was still available. And that just happens. I mean, I don't know what else a teacher can do after the exam is done and they've taught all the stuff of the course. I mean, they did do some movies that were based on psychological principles, but
Doing some theories, role play,
Yeah.
really creative.
they have to be creative.
Well, the teachers voted, right?
Well, that's something I also would like to bring up. It says that but I went through and counted how many teachers, ancillary staff that were in the high school, there's about 35. So 16 of them voted to say, yes, we want them out of here. 8 said no, and then, what would that be, 11?
Why would 11 not?
Didn't respond. So I think the 66.7, that is out of who voted. That's a little misleading. If you actually take the number of staff in that building, it's less than half. I also think, we've seen the data. We saw this, I think, last year or the year before. We don't have a lot of kids taking the AP test. So it used to be, if you didn't take the AP test, then you needed to take the final for the class. I don't know if that is still, so then you need to be in class for those 3 weeks because you need to take that final. I don't know if that's something still being done. I also, I read through this and I think, our kids are squirrely, they're preventing our juniors from learning or whoever's in those double classes regardless. But I also look at this class as, they were sophomores when we stopped school in March. They didn't come back to school. And then their junior year, they, could have opted to be online the whole time, or they were online until whenever we got our school back in session and kids in seats. So realistically, this is the first full year that these kids, in almost 3 years have had to be, or 3 years, have had to be in school full time for 185 days. So I'm sure that was pretty taxing on them. And I'm sure, who would, it's nice out, you want to be done. They haven't had to be in school a full year for a really long time.
But yeah, I wonder if that would get resolved, if.
Right, as the years go on.
If this was just an anomaly year to where, you're right, this is quote unquote more of a normal year and they're not used to it. So is this an anomaly year or is this going to
Continue.
Yeah.
I think also we have to keep in mind that there are, since I've been on this board, I know for a fact there were 2 years, possibly 3. We're lucky that we get that first Sunday at the Wharton Center, but there have been times where that has had to be pushed a week due to whatever was happening at the Wharton. I think one year it was Lion King, I can't remember what the other show was. So then graduation is being pushed another week, and then we're talking about kids out of seats before graduation even longer. I also think for me, I have to keep in mind, we've spent this last year saying how important it is to have our kids in the buildings, to have them learning for their social emotional health, for their their social emotional health, for their academic curriculum. Kids do better when they're in school, and we have pushed that all year. And now we have a group of kids that were pretty squirrely, and we're just gonna say, okay, yeah, it makes sense, you get out a week early. I'm just hesitant. I guess I'm not sure if I'm ready to stamp this and say, yeah, we can be done.
I think it seems significant that 11 teachers didn't vote. That's a lot. And if you combine that with the no votes,
I would agree. Adam,
doesn't sound like there's support.
why would those teachers not vote? I mean, was it because they didn't feel that they were directly involved in making that decision? Is it?
I don't think it was phrased as a vote. I think it was a survey to collect feedback from teachers. And so there was, I think, an option where they could select, yes or no. And there was also a place for them to kind of free text add in their thoughts and rationale for that. So, I can only speculate. I don't know. They don't have an opinion, they're neutral, or they were super busy and just didn't get to that. I don't know. There could be a number of different reasons.
You also might be a teacher, if you just teach, I guess, all the freshman classes or sophomore, if this doesn't
Yeah, it might not
necessarily
apply to
pertain to you,
Yeah, that's true.
I would kind of be like, darn it, I want to have the senior class. I want to be done with that class 3 weeks early.
My understanding of the kind of chronology was that I think Dr. Delp received feedback from staff that this might be something to consider based on his observations of that last week with seniors. I think there was some evidence that there was a less than beneficial learning environment in some classes just because of the seniors' mindset. At that point, a lot of them are done with their dual enrollment, done with early college, done with MBU. Some of them aren't taking the full schedule anymore. They're not working part of the day. They're done with their AP exams. It's not every kid, right? But and so I think some of the staff had approached him about this is something to consider. And so based on his observations, there seemed to be a connection there perhaps. And so he sent the survey out to kind of see, the other input to receive from the staff as to what their thoughts are on it. So.
Well, I think Sarah, I need to have more stats. I don't want to go to every school and look to see if it's a fact, did they start 2 weeks early, which is, they're in the same amount of days, but I would like to have that data. But I also, do we do any activities in that time frame, like we do the walk with the elementary kids? I would still want to make sure that happen. I think that's a really important part of our culture here, so I would hate to send them away knowing that I'm not going to get them back to do some of the things that I think are very good for our community, for them to be involved in.
Right, and I do think that would still be,
That would be the following week. start.
That would, yeah, so they
Still
would do
within
that
that.
following week and then they would be done. I would like to, I mean, I do think there's a lot of information that we need to know, like, and this is hard to say being a teacher, like, what are we doing to engage those students? So you're done with your AP, you've learned all of that information in AP, what are you, like, are you thinking outside of the box? Are you giving these kids, time to implement and role play and, I don't know, like, just using that time to really do some hands-on creative learning and giving them opportunities to use what they learn or to showcase what they learn, or I don't know, thinking outside the box to engage those kids. So I guess I also think of when we think about all of our academics and curriculum and the tiers of support, what interventions have been done, what things have been done to keep those kids engaged so they're not squirrely and they're not interfering with the learning that's going on for those other kids. What kind of consequences, what kind of engagement, what kind of supports. That's what, for me, is missing in this. So I don't want to necessarily, for me, this is me personally, I'm one vote. I'm not ready just to jump and say, sure, let's let them get out soon, because I feel like this is going to be this could be like a domino effect. So now the seniors are gone and they were squirrely. Well, you still have juniors, sophomores, whatever, in those AP classes. Or I also think about, like, and I don't know why I go to calculus class, because you can't have seniors in calculus and you can't have juniors or I don't know if you can have sophomores, but so again, what is that teacher going to do if the seniors are going to leave early? Are they going to cram the academics in to get that curriculum done by the last day for the seniors? And if they do, then what do they do with the juniors? And if they don't, then we got seniors missing a month of curriculum. To me, that's a lot of stuff.
And you have senior classes that aren't AP still having now to end early.
Right, yeah.
So if you were just a regular class that
So are
had
you
non-AP,
moving
it doesn't
faster?
matter. So those teachers are gonna have to work in that 7 days somewhere else.
I know that.
And also, if you're a student and you still have stuff to turn in, you still have work to do, if you're not done, then you're just in school, like moseying around, going to one class,
Well, I think
not
that's another point, that it might be a small student population, but some of our students don't have their own transportation to school. And again, it might be a small portion of our senior class this would affect, but that means that student, let's say they did all of their work for first, second, third, but they didn't do fourth, and they did fifth and sixth hours. They still have to come in for fourth hour, but they don't have transportation to get there. So then they have to get on the bus in the morning. They're there in school, not needing to be there. So what are they doing, and who's responsible for what here? But they are going to fourth hour.
Well, and they're not allowed to leave and then come
Well,
back.
that's what I'm saying. They're not able to leave
So-
because they have to take the transportation at the end of the day.
Well, but it's not even that. The rules that we just put into
Yeah.
place
Yeah.
said that
Right.
if a student leaves, they're not allowed to come back.
Right.
If they're going off for work or whatever it is,
Yeah.
that they're not allowed to come
Right.
back. So coming back just for that fourth hour is an issue.
Well, and I also think about our band kids or our choir kids who have to participate in the Memorial Day parade. They participate in the graduation ceremony. They can't practice that, so they're not going to practice that early. They're going to practice it before. So then you are going to have however many seniors, coming back or choir or drum, like whoever participates in those things for that. So we are going to have students roaming around.
Yeah, coming
And
going.
Julie's question, they also looked at Hazlitt and Mason, and their schedule currently mirrors what we have now.
Yeah. I just think I just think there's so many things, we've discussed it here, like I wonder, I mean, it's not only looking at you have to go calendar days. Some might have a longer break here and there, so the start time doesn't really affect what your ending is, but to me, if this was just brought, I mean, I think if what we're doing now fits into what we're doing now, and to change it there's not enough compelling examples here for me to just say, yeah, that sounds great. This is just them getting out of school early, which is.
Right, and times are changing, our kids are changing. And I know, and I can absolutely say this, as a teacher myself, I have to change with the kids I'm working with. I can't keep on that same level. I have to up that ante. Our kids are getting smarter. They want more hands-on stuff, and maybe this is the time to do it. So I think it doesn't sound like we're ready to vote on anything on this, and it sounds like we kind of want to keep what's the word I want to look at? Keep monitoring the situation, see what's happens with this next class or the class after. See what our students are doing, see what how our teachers are going to keep those kids engaged. Maybe look at how many kids are really taking that AP exam, or I'd like to know what teachers are doing. If I'm a kid in that class and I don't take the AP exam and I have no final, what's keeping me engaged? Like if I want to get a good grade on that AP exam, okay. If I don't care about that, or I'm not going to take the test.
And that AP exam is at the end of April. So you're going to have that
Yeah,
whole-
so there's 2 weeks, right? So there could be 2 weeks in there. But if I'm not going to take that AP exam and I know the teacher's not giving me a final or anything else, I'm going to check out of that class in January probably. I don't know if I'd be, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
especially on AP.
I guess I need more information on what teachers are doing in those rooms too. Or how, this was. So I'm getting the sense from everybody, I guess, please correct me if I'm wrong, that we're not ready to vote on this. We'd like some more information. We will continue to monitor this situation right now, but it doesn't sound like any of us are ready to say, yes, next year I can take it out a week early. Am I reading everybody correctly? I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, please. Okay. Next, personal curriculum. This is I'm going to back up. We are going to move in July, at our July meeting, to vote on the Michigan virtual. We all feel comfortable with that. But with the senior last day, we're going to kind of hold steady on that. Personal curriculum. This is, the personal curriculum is the band credit. Students, this comes up almost every year at the end of the year, that the Department of Ed says that if you are in band, that you can, personal curriculum, so meaning you can swap out your half a year of gym credit for band. It doesn't tell you how that has to look, so some school districts around us, and Adam, please correct me if I'm wrong with this. When this was researched in the past, some school districts around us don't do it at all, don't allow that swap. Some allow it if you are in band for 4 years or 2 years, like they put a cap on it. Like if you're in band for 2 full years, then you can do this. If you're in band for 4 years.
Hazlitt does that if you're in band all 4 years.
If you're in band all 4 years,
It's yes or no.
then you can make that swap. So I think it's time, again, this comes to us, it seems like every other year, that kids who are in band want to swap out their band credit for the gym credit, or use their band credit for gym credit. I think this board, we either need to figure out if we're gonna do that, if we're gonna allow that or not, and then if we are gonna allow that, what parameters are we going to allow to do that? Meaning, are we gonna say you have to be in band 4 full years? Or are we gonna say 2 full years? Are we gonna say if you're in band 1 year? If you're, however that might look.
I guess I've never understood why this is exclusive to band,
Well,
what you're
it's
giving
not.
up, that's
And
gym
that's-
credit.
Exclusive to band, it is,
Yeah,
that's
the
true.
state regulations state, and I pulled it up just in case someone had a question on it. The state permits school districts or schools to allow students to substitute interscholastic sports, JROTC, marching band, or cheerleading for the required physical education credit. This began back in 2011, and it says even students who have been granted substitutions, the students will be allowed to show proficiency in the state standard. So it's still saying that you have to show proficiency, but that districts have the right to substitute out. Now, I did do some research. I found a couple of districts that do it, and like Nancy said, it's different ways. Just 2 that I pulled up right now. We've got Stevenson, which is Livonia, or Sterling Heights, sorry. Sterling Heights Stevenson does it, but they say that you have to have 2 complete seasons of marching band in place of the graduation requirement of 1/2 credit, and then and then the other flex option is taking a second full year of in-school band class in place of the graduation requirement of a second full year of world language. So they do some other finagling too. And then St. Joseph also had another one, but they do sports as well. So they say for the 1/2 credit, they allow for, they say that a student has to, I'm just reading it here. Most students think it's 9th grade. If you are unable to take the lifelong fitness, you may request an exemption. They have a form that you fill out in either a sponsored high school team or a full year of high school marching band. So they only do 1 full year. So they say you do a full year of a high school team or a full year of marching band. So those are just 2 examples. There are other ones out there. I just brought a couple out there. We heard what Adam said about what DeWitt does. DeWitt or Hazlitt does. Hazlitt does.
Yeah, well, and that was from 19, it was the last time we looked at this. I mean, I don't know, I think it changed since then. But
Right.
We did a study of this in fall of 19.
Yeah.
So, and I do think that, you know, when you're a freshman or a sophomore and you're trying to lay out your class schedule and you're trying to fit everything in and do whatever, you can swipe out health and gym if you take like an extra AP class. So like if you take world history and then take AP world, you can take that AP world class and swap out for your gym and whatever. I think a lot of times, and my daughter did that, we'll just like who cares, whatever, and she was in band, but then she found when she got to her senior year, she had to take a 1/2 a year of a math class. So what are you gonna do the other 1/2 of the year? The only thing that was open was, you know, lifeguarding. And so she took lifeguarding. So that would have been her gym credit, which she wouldn't have had to do that. And I hear that a lot with seniors when they get to their senior year, especially if they don't, if they're taking 4 AP classes in band, they want something fun and light, and so they do one of the fun gym classes, or they do, one of those 1/2 a year things. So it doesn't seem to be affecting as many kids as I think that it would.
It just seems very office heavy, like for our counselors to maneuver all these kids and knowing, did you take it? Did you take the, I mean, we already are doing that, so to add it in, to me, just doesn't seem worth it. I just think, like you say, I would think that a lot of them at some point would do it, but if you do it for band, you're gonna have to do it for all of the, because that's kind of the whole point. It was like, well, why wouldn't you do it for football or basketball? Or, I mean, they're putting extraordinary physical
Right. So
strength and tenacity forward just as much as marching band, so they would assume that they would also could be able to. And I think with our counselors, it would just might be too much
when you're adding
coming into their office to mitigate.
And see, I would think that if there's an administrative process that a student, that is on the student and the student has to go through to be able to get that taken care of, then it's on the student. And then when they bring it in, it's just like a counselor visit or what they would do with a counselor anyways. The counselor, as I said before, when I looked into this, the counselors have a binder and every student has a page. So, it's definitely not electronic. I mean, I think that might be something to look into in the future of, is there a way to make it a little bit more 21st century? But that's a whole other thing. But
we are a school of extraordinary application outside of the classroom, so I mean, that's just there's only so many hours in a day, so if you now add 100 kids that could possibly drop a class, they have to sit in with that counselor.
But we're looking at,
for 10 minutes, that's, 10 hours extra that they have maybe.
When we're looking at the band students, it was 10 students in a senior class.
Well, I don't think
that
we
were
could
even
do it
eligible
for, I don't think we even could do it for band. I think in my aspect, if you did it for band, you would just have to make a broad across and say, you would have to do it for the athletics and band to make
I
it.
have a question.
Go ahead, Deb.
Since the State Board of Education has already approved this, and we don't have a big call for it, it seems like, couldn't we just do it on a case-by-case basis? Otherwise, if there wasn't any means to this, Could a student sue the school district because it wasn't allowed? I don't know.
I mean, the state board says you can do things. The key word is when they say, well, actually, the board's not even, most of the stuff they do isn't necessarily always binding. But like, you know, if this is a legislative decree, it says shall, then you got
Yeah.
to, right? But can provides local control, and boards can make their own decisions. We had a board request, just as a reminder on the data from the class of 2022. There were 56 students who used a personal curriculum to not take gym or PE. And there were 10 students who could have, had that been an option, used it to PC out of PE. That's not saying they would have, but there were 10 students that hypothetically would have had that.
And that's just looking at band students, not looking across the board of our athletes.
Well,
Also,
then that would open up a whole separate.
right, that's a whole other.
whole other thing.
I think that doing the whole, I mean, when you're going through your kid, or when kids are going through their scheduling, it is tricky, like they need to understand what the rules are. I know we've had some issues where we've had kids take, instead of taking world history, they take AP world history and then think, okay, I took above and beyond, so now I get out of gym and health. And that's not true. You only get out of gym and health if you take above and beyond, so you need to take world history and AP world history. You can substitute AP world for world history, but you need to do both to do it. So even me just talking through it, when I had to do it with my girls, I'm incredibly, I don't want to say incredibly knowledgeable about this because I'm not, but being in education and working with, special ed high school kids, special ed kids, and knowing, going through this, I feel like I have more knowledge than maybe the average person, and it's still very confusing. It's hard.
The one other thing that I'm going to just put out there that is very different than an athlete is the fact that band is a full year course. And many of these students are taking full year courses, which is taking them out of the ability to be able to take the additional health or PE because they can't fit it in. So it's not every student, it was 10 students this year. But because they're taking it as a part of their curriculum, and they're required to do marching band as well as symphony band. I mean, not
Then
every,
why don't we
not
make
every
them take
student does
health,
symphony
why
band.
don't we make them fill in that health over a 2-year thing and take a first semester, second semester of health and,
But
if
but
that
it's
is,
the same
if it's
issue.
the same.
It's the same issue. I mean, you're having.
Well, no, they're
having to figure
they're
it out.
already swapping out, right? So they're already removing a requirement for the health by taking the band. So they are, oh, I thought he just
No,
said that they
no.
were,
You can't do it for band, you have to do it for above and beyond.
Yeah, it's
I
gotta
think
be-
what happens when you are
Okay.
a freshman and a sophomore, so many, you have to take an English, you have to take a science, you have to take math, you have to take a history, and then you get an elective. And if you do band for an elective, then you only have one more, and you might want to take whatever. And if you're in the math and science academy,
Okay.
then your schedule is already done for you. So being able to not have to take those two, band will be your elective instead of gym and health. Gym and health is considered an elective, even though it's required. So it's just swapping out your schedule.
And what I've seen band students, what happens with band students is a lot of times they have to try to scramble to figure out how the heck they're going to fit it in their senior year. Because at that point, they've gotten rid of their science, their English, well, not English, but their science is usually done. They usually have the half credit of math that they have to do. So they have at least one half credit maybe, depending on what else they've got going, but it's sometimes very difficult. This hits home, I'll be very honest, it hits home because my daughter is impacted by this, so,
My daughter was too.
Yeah, but because of the fact that they are taking this year-long course in freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior years for the most part, it makes it much more difficult for them to get those pieces done, which is why I think some districts choose to not do athletes or other things because they see that as an extracurricular type of a piece, whereas band is not extracurricular, it is a part of the academic curriculum. So, and I'm not downplaying what athletes do. Both my kids are athletes, but it is outside of the school day versus inside the school day, and trying to fit in those two.
I always thought
extra
that was a
courses.
great benefit to band, to be able to do something that you enjoy and still have it fit within your school
Yeah.
day, instead of having to be
It
stuck at the
is.
school for 2 to 3 more hours after
No,
your day.
no, it is,
Well,
Julie.
they're still, but they are still practicing after school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So,
In band.
absolutely.
So in fall of 2019, the solution that we tried to put in place, obviously the second half of that school year, got some things going on. But as far as the scheduling piece, one of the things we tried was to create some more flexibility within the 6-hour day, where trying to fit some of those classes in was to add more 0-hour courses. Historically at the high school, it's only jazz band. I think that's a 0-hour class. And so the high school had proposed a number of pretty creative options for 0-hour in addition to that to kind of free up some flexibility. It's been a few years, but I know they had offered like an addition, like a robotics class. If you're interested in that, they had proposed a class where you could get your high school athletic officiating certification. So you take that class and you can walk out with that, being able to officiate athletics. And there were a couple other options too. But what we found is going through the enrollment process that kids just they didn't sign up for it. And there's probably a number of reasons for that, but it wasn't.
Except for jazz band.
Yeah, jazz band still has kids, but it's signed up for it, but there just wasn't a gravitate, they just didn't sign up enough numbers to run those sections, so, it was something different that we tried to look at this in a more creative way, and it just didn't catch on. And that, could have been for a number of reasons, to include the fact that there was no school, for all intents and purposes, that during that period of time.
So do you have a recommendation on this, Adam? Like, do you think it would cause any, what would you recommend?
So again, we haven't, I didn't have the team go back through an in-depth assessment because I wasn't sure exactly where we were going with the conversation. It's too late to do anything for next year anyway in their schedule. But in fall of 19, the position was that we were not in favor of it. The primary reason was that we didn't feel the content was apples to apples. So while we certainly agree that marching band in particular is a strenuous event, and those kids, we see them out there, right? They're working hard. But from a content area assessment, the two things are so different. So that was our position in fall of 19. I can't say that if we went back through and did another assessment, we'd come out with a different recommendation if we did that again. The concern I have kind of expressed before is that when we kind of keep looking at something like this over and over again, at some point, just to get it off the plate, we might get a recommendation to say, go for it, like weighted grades a few years ago, where I think just after a number of requests, we found enough reasons to say yes. And so now we have weighted grades, but I don't know that everyone's particularly happy with weighted grades, now that we did it. And so I guess my personal view is if we're gonna seriously look at this, let's make a decision. But if not, I think we just kind of move on, considering it is just a small number of students that are impacted.
I think the when it impacted my daughter, when you're looking down the road, it's because there are so many classes they want to take. And then they get to their senior year and there's so many AP classes, or there's like a fun class, or they want to, however it works out. And when they're looking as freshmen, sophomores, by the time they get to a senior year, again, she had to take lifeguarding because she needed a half a year or whatever, and she was fine with it. It was good.
Gave her a great skill.
She did.
I said it gave her a good skill. Like her.
You know her, she's not a great swimmer, so she kept saying, I'm gonna drown, I'm not. I can't take that class. But they worked with her and she passed and it was good. But yeah, she had to step outside of her comfort zone. and then realize very quickly that I'm gonna go to college and have this, strenuous life anyway, why put that on me as a senior? So, but I think that, we are so AP heavy, and we are so like, get those classes in, be the best you can be, and sometimes we forget that they are kids, and with our mental health issues that we're having, maybe we need to say, it's okay not to take 6 AP classes in 1 year. Take a fun archery class, take the fun swimming class,
Yeah,
take the
I
fun
agree.
pottery class. Like, take something that's gonna be a little less stressful.
And I agree, and I don't think we should do anything at this point. That's just my own personal.
Sarah and Dave, what are your thoughts? Because I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I do feel like, just since I've been on this board, I feel like it's come up like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
So I do feel like either we gotta say we're gonna do it and put some things, some things in place, or we have to kind of like
Put it to
see
rest.
how things are going or something.
I don't honestly see the harm in giving the kids the option, short of Julie's point of, does it add a significant amount of administrative stress, in which case, that's something we have to consider. But if it's relatively easy to absorb administratively, give the kids the option, what's the harm?
Yeah, I agree. I requested this to be a
Right.
discussion because of exactly what happened today, that there are valid points on each side, but kind of side with where Dave is going, and specifically resonated what Nancy was saying, is that we do stress AP classes, and I remember my senior year, yeah, it was a while ago, but I love taking art, 3 art classes my senior year, so it's just, I think that it's something that we should consider allowing.
Well, if we do, I do think it should be I think we should add other, I think we would get a request. I mean, other parents are gonna see that are kind of interested in it, and you're gonna get more requests. So if we're going to do it, we should just do it like some of those other schools did, and just do it broadly so we can have it very well implemented in and create a plan for it.
Measured on the state's standards.
Yeah, so it'd be for
sports.
football, yeah, so it would, because to Adams, the reason why they decided is that the marching band portion of it wasn't equal to really, so they are looking at it at an athletic kind of, or, exercise kind of. So if you're looking at it at that rule, there's a lot of sports that exert a lot of physical fitness that it should qualify for. And then that's where I would just get into, is it going to be an issue? If we roll out that broadly.
That's gonna be significant change, so.
And I don't know how it was easy to say, it was easy to pull out the data, I feel like, for band kids. I don't know how we pull out data for athletes.
I would
Like,
just encourage you not to make that decision lightly. Talk about maybe more data for
Right,
the
I don't
difference of
think-
5 days from when seniors end, which is not gonna dramatically change anything one way or the other. This is gonna be significant.
And I think, like I said before, I think that the big difference with band is that it is an academic course, and it is something that is already in the curriculum versus the athletics is not. So, and maybe you test it with band and see how it goes. And if,
I think that the question might also lead to, if we do open it up,
Mhm.
I'm not saying no.
I just think
I'm
we
not
should
opposing
follow
that,
the
but
requirement, or the
I'm
recommendation.
thinking kind of probably a lot of what Adam is going through right now. Does that impact a teacher, having a teacher, if we open it up?
Right, so if we're talking,
Does that impact the staff?
staff. So if every athlete, I don't even know how many athletes we have, I feel like a lot. So if every athlete said, I'm not taking gym, and every band member said, I'm not taking gym, that could be a staff member or two.
So,
And not that,
I don't think you wanna make a decision.
I'll tell you what, my kids who
No.
played athletics hated taking gym, because they were like, I'm freaking sore from 2 hours of practice yesterday, and now I gotta go in today and work out. So if they could opt out of that, they most
But
definitely
again,
would.
I just want to emphasize, looking at it from a curricular standpoint, they're not the same things. So, and when you're looking at what the PE teachers at the high school are having kids do, it's not like basketball drills, right? I was in high school, like, why am I doing playing drills at the varsity basketball? they're expanding things, they're bringing in new activities that the kids haven't been exposed to, but also the underlying standards completely different from what you would see in band or even at playing on an athletics team. So it's curricularly different. And I think that was our position a couple of years ago. Again, that could have changed, right? It's been 2 years.
So your guys' position was, it was a benefit for them to have to take that course?
Well, there was a conception that this had not moved forward in previous years because of concern over staff changes, which is, in my opinion, I mean, that's, we're offering things that the kids need and have to learn. I mean, we're not making decisions on it. We're not going to offer something to a student because of an expense. But when you did the analysis of the curricular content, they were so different that we didn't feel like we could justify that substitution based on the fact that they weren't apples to apples. And so that was the position when we looked at it.
I guess I look at it in the fact that, though, if a student is taking a English class, is that the same curricular standard as taking phys ed to PC out? Because it's not. I mean, if you're taking a great books class and you're learning about great books, you're not learning about physical fitness. So I don't see that as an argument that, I mean, because students are already PCing out. They're PCing out by taking other classes for health and fitness, or health and PE. So to say that we're not going to give credit to a student that has done this other academic piece in the arts, and they've done it for 4 years or whatever we decide, if we decided to do it, whatever that would be, that's not the same curricular standard. I don't see that we can say that it's the same curricular standard to say that someone is PCing out for a great books course, for a phys ed class either.
I think the difference there is you're providing an opportunity for extension in one area, whereas I don't know that this is the same thing.
I would agree, yeah.
So
I don't know if I'd agree with
So
that.
Deb, how, or where are you?
I
Like,
just
what are your?
Yeah.
looking at it.
It's okay.
It just seems like if we had a policy that said it's an option for students, and then students actually had to apply for it, so it wasn't just that I can ask the counselor and it happens, but they have to show how it would be beneficial to them. I just think that, given the State Board of Education has already approved it, I think we ought to have some roadway into that for those few that want to do that. But I don't think I think you open a whole can of worms if you go into extracurricular and letting them swap out for athletics, because then the next thing you're going to hear is some other extracurricular group. Well, what I do is the same thing I do in my
But that's
science
what the state
class.
board, isn't that what, but didn't you just say the state board? I mean, isn't that their ruling? The state board was all extracurricular? Wasn't it athletics one of the?
It said schools.
I mean, it's
have-
including all of them.
For all of those, the district has the right to make that determination.
So then you would just
So we
picking
could
and
make that
choosing what you
determination.
wanted out of there.
Yeah.
So for historical purposes, I graduated in the early 2000s, and I didn't have to take PE, because at that time, if you were in a varsity sport and you earned a varsity letter at least once, then you did not have to take gym. Now, it's saying that PE standards have changed since then, so keep that in mind when I just said what I said.
Right. Well, and I think, we have kids taking those classes. I mean, they obviously enjoy them, they want to take them.
My son would take 6 hours of gym and he could, so.
You would?
No, my son would.
But I think also to Chris's point, it's more than referencing band. It's more, or marching band, it's more than just the physical aspect. They are learning more. They're learning different genres of music. They're learning how to write music. They're learning how to obviously play music. So it's more than just the physical aspect that is offering students.
But you have to think, I mean, if you're taking a PE class, you're learning physical aspects that would help you in your life. I mean, the whole point is when you take a PE class at some form, like Adam says, you're learning things you might not learn somewhere else. The curriculum is ever changing and bringing in, so learning healthy standards and your muscles and how to work your muscles, I think, is very needed for a health, you know, but that's just mine. I mean, it's obviously, this is more on go, so it's okay if we don't all agree. So if we feel, you know, 4-2 or 4-1 that's not, then we should. No, I'm saying, but we, obviously, I mean, we went around and everybody, so I just, you know, gave mine. I just think it's something,
I think it's a,
could, should, no,
I mean,
to me.
I
good,
see
but
both
they-
sides of it. Both of my girls PC'd out of gym and ended up taking gym, and both of them enjoyed. Megan took some dance, you know, twirly things that fit into her thing, and they had a great time. It was her first hour of the day, and she loved it. Aaron took, you know, lifeguard meet and worked as lifeguard, and, you know, so I do think the difference between an athlete is they're doing that after school and it isn't taking up an hour, where band is taking up an hour. So I do get Chris's point with that too. But I also think that this is going to take a lot. This is going to be a significant change and take a lot on our counselors to make sure that, you know, our counselors already have to make sure our kids are getting the classes that they need to graduate when they need to graduate. And that's still a difficult process. And,
But again, just to chime in, I think before you do anything, the strong recommendation would be to have a more detailed assessment and
Yep.
presentation.
I don't think we're ready to vote on, I don't feel like we're ready to vote on this, but I don't even know
want to
what
understate
information.
the
What-
significant decision here.
I don't know,
Yeah, I think that that's a good point. I would like to see data. I don't think that we're ready to make a decision. My personal feeling is we're not ready to move this forward.
Right.
But
One of the
that's-
earliest we'd be looking at is fall.
but I do think if,
But I would like to see what Mrs. Kelsey does for band, a curriculum.
so
Why-
can I,
Can I ask Adam a question, though? Because he's
Yeah.
saying that this would not, that no one that would be a senior would be eligible to use this. Why are you saying that? Because students still have the ability to change their schedules if they
Well,
know
you wanna-
that this is, and they, for all we know, a student might be taking an MVU course this summer to try to take advantage of it and paying for it out of pocket because they know they have to fit this in, because they don't have it. So I'm just asking the question, why are you saying that a student that, if we made a decision in July and we said, yes, we're doing this, why couldn't
I
senior?
don't think, so I can
this
kind of
year?
answer that. I don't
Yeah.
feel like we're ready to make a
Well, I know
decision.
that, but I'm just asking the question.
I don't see any way we could get anything of value in front of the board before October, November.
Okay.
I mean,
So I do think we're not ready to vote on this. But again, I don't want to just push this aside and not do anything. So I do think we need more information. I'm not sure what that is though. So if you guys think of something, I can maybe talk with Adam and say, what are things that we can look at?
I'd say I definitely don't have a solid understanding of what the PE curriculum would look like.
So maybe
When I was in high
asking-
school, we ran and played basketball.
Right, that's what
Every
it's
day, all
changed.
year. So I know a lot has changed, and I don't want to make a decision based on ignorance, so that would be the number
Okay, so
one.
maybe ask for some PE curriculums. I also heard maybe looking for a band curriculum.
Is it possible to have a committee formed with
An ad hoc
administrators
committee?
and teachers that look into it?
We possibly could get an ad hoc committee together of board members to work with people. So, if you have any other thoughts on this, get with me, any other information that you think you might want, and then I can get with Adam to see what we need to move to the next steps. Again, I don't think this is something we can, I don't think we're ready to make some type of decision right now, but I do think we need to start gathering some data to be able to make an informed decision, so this doesn't continue to.
I think Julie made a good point too about the potential strain on administration and the counselors making this happen. Like, what would the workload look like or something like
Right.
this?
No, I agree, because you're talking, if we do open it up, I mean, not that we have to open it up to athletes, but if we do, or if we're looking at that, that could be a significant number of kids. they can come in as a freshman with one idea and one thought of how they're gonna go down their path, and then they come back their junior year on a different path, and there's classes that they still need to take because they
They
switch.
totally could. And to
I
think
mean-
that somebody's not going to request, like, you offer it for this, you should offer it for me, they're gonna bring in exactly what you brought in, and it's just
Right.
gonna go. So you either do it all or nothing, because I feel like it would be brought before us again, and then we'd have to then make them reorganize again.
Organize, and so, all
I would
right,
also,
straight.
see if the policy committee needs to get together after we get information to, discuss.
I'm gonna need just to be honest, I'm gonna need the high school team to be back at work to be able to move forward on this. I mean, the guidance counselors and high school administration would be, and Dr. Cook would, there's a lot of people whose input we would need to have that are around right now. So that's kind of, I'd be looking at, the ad hoc would be a legit way to think about approaching it too, but we need time to get all this prepared.
So I guess I'm gonna ask everybody to really think about this, because if this is something that we kind of start going down, this is going, what I don't want to happen is we put, if we have to do it, we have to do it. But putting an ad hoc, we're coming off of COVID, which is a strain anyway. Now we put an ad hoc committee together, we ask for all these curriculums, we ask for all this extra stuff. If we get to the point where we look at all of this data and they've done a ton, that's gonna take a ton of work. It's gonna take a ton of work on any board member who's on that committee, plus all of the staff that have to do that. And then if we already have in our mind that this isn't something we wanna even do, I think we need to make sure we're thinking that this is a possibility or something before we jump into that path, because this will be a lot of work for people.
I agree. I mean, especially since Adam had stated that they put opportunities in place and it wasn't utilized at all prior. Currently, I think you said that you added some classes and some things that would,
Well, we tried.
and nobody utilized them, so.
We tried, but again, that was COVID had shut us down, and the scheduling for that year was as usual. I don't know if that had anything to play with it,
Well, but I will say that were 0 hours, and any band student that was in jazz band could not have done that.
yeah, it wouldn't necessarily have helped.
Yeah, but still, that's their choice. I'm just at a
But
place
it's a-
where I
but it
think
is a curriculum
as an
choice.
adult starting to come in, that you should do things that are different out of your comfort zone. You should be put in positions of having to try to arrange your schedule, maybe taking a summer class. I mean, that's just me personally, that we've got 2 things on our agenda tonight that are like, make it easier for us so that we can leave. And I'm like, no, just kind of be a student and enjoy.
But
And
this
take
is
gym
not-
class and spend an extra week at high school. It'll be okay, because you got 45 more years to work and go to.
But this, just to make sure I'm curious, I hope this is not what you were saying, but if we said that a band student could get a credit get this credit waived, it's not making their schedule easier.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying everybody chooses the path that they want. And if the path that they want makes it so they can't do certain things or have to do certain things, that is a choice that they're making, just like Nancy's daughters have to make their choices and what they have, and some students take a summer course to get something else that they have. I'm just saying that there's a lot of students that have things that they have to determine and decide. And you're assuming, from the way that only band students are strictly affected, and it's at a discord that it's at an extreme negative that they're affected. And I'm not sure it's a negative.
I would say that they are. That's my opinion, because it is a part of the curricular process. Band is in the curricular process. Jazz band is in the curricular process.
I know. I get it.
And it is a fine arts curriculum. So for a student that is fine arts oriented, and we have art, we have music, we have theater, it's a part of our curriculum. Those students, especially the band students, are taking year-round courses for 4 years straight, which is not allowing them to have the ability in their schedule to get health or fitness based on the other academic pieces. And as we heard earlier, there were 10 students that were affected this year. And they had to figure it out. So, you know where I stand on this.
Well, I think we just have, I think sometimes when I would ask everybody because it is personal if you have kids that are in band, it is personal if you have kids in athletics. And I think sometimes we do need to take a step back and look at the whole bigger picture and what this would do to our system and how we're going to make this, if we decide to go down this path, what work is involved, what else do we need to know to be able to make the best informed decision. I am gonna piggyback on Adam talking about, we had, for some of you, actually, I don't know how many of you were still on this board. So when Jeff and I were here, we had parents that would come constantly and talk about weighted grades, weighted grades. Finally, we said, we gotta, do this. So there was a committee or a principal, someone looked into it, came with a recommendation to do it. And now we're hearing from past board members and parents that kids are kind of now using our AP classes to get that higher grade, not really, or getting that weighted grade to boost their grade point average, but not really doing it to be able to take that AP test. Like they're doing it just for the grade. So they kind of
They're not taking the elective to expand their horizons or just have something they enjoy
Right.
during the day because they're stacking up 5 AP classes to be in the top 10, which.
Right, so
that-
right, so they're doing it for the weighted grade, which wasn't the point of doing it at all. So I do think we need to be thoughtful in this process because I don't.
And maybe we'd wait until
Don't
the
wanna do
grading piece is done. So we kind of see how that's, kind of our
Well, that-
board goal.
That was
wouldn't
my
that-
piece as the curriculum director was like, you can do weighted grades or not do weighted grades until the grades actually represent something consistent.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right,
But-
so, there's a lot of, I don't wanna just jump into something because of research or looking at different districts or what what my kids personally did or someone else's kids did or we kind of need to put our personal feelings a little bit aside and make sure we're doing what's best for all of these kids because this could last. And these kids are smart. They outsmarted us on this weighted grade thing and now it's kind of
And now it's, now in that college
yeah,
application,
like
you
what-
have to check weighted grade or not
Yeah.
weighted grade. 'cause
What's
you're
happening?
like-
So if you have any other thoughts, any other information that you're thinking about, please let me know. I will get with Adam and we'll try to come up with next steps and see where we go with this.
Okay.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is board goal 2. Just a reminder, we last 2 weeks, was it even 2 weeks ago? Whenever our last board meeting was, we were talking a lot about the budget. We're at 12 point something percent in our savings account. Our board goal was 10%. Julie kind of mentioned maybe we need to switch the wording of the goal, of our board goal, and then we kind of started to slide down in discussion, which we can't do, so I wanted to pull it back, put it on here. So I'm gonna, because Julie brought this up, I'm gonna let her open this, and then we can kind of have a discussion around changing the wording for that goal, which if you need the actual wording, it is on the back, number 2.
Yeah, and it's just our wording was increase the fund balance to 10% of reserves, and I thought maybe we should move it to, maintain a minimum of 10% reserves, or we've already hit that goal. So to imply to maybe the citizens of our school district that we are not there, I would like to let them know that we are there and we are looking to maintain at a minimum at 10%.
So I know one thing that was brought up, Adam kind of said, all of our brochures and stuff have been printed, so that would cost us extra
Yes.
money to do that.
I would,
So-
do we have to do that? And if we do change it on our website and on our internal board, do we really have to change our advertising that's currently, maybe new advertising can reflect it, but I would not suggest we change something and then have to go back and change other things.
My only piece with this is one, I think we get to pat ourselves on the back that, we kind of held firm and got to this goal before the 3 years. What makes me a little hesitant to say maintain 10 is, we still have a year and a half on this goal, and we still have expended expenses that we're gonna have to spend. So even though we're at 12 point whatever, I feel like that extra 2%. At the end of this year, we could be down at 9.
Yeah.
And that, so we can't maintain because we had to spend money.
Oh my gosh, are we going down?
I just saw
You guys are
Adam and
smiling
Sarah
at each
fall off
other.
their chair. Sarah about just had a stroke over there.
I know, I was like, oh, no, no.
Yeah, Adam did too over on the side. But that is reality. We might have to spend money and that might dip down and then it might take us like 6 months to bring it back up. So I'm fearful to say maintain because that makes it sound like whatever happens, we can't spend the money that we possibly need. Like, I mean, what if we have a fire and, you know, our insurance rate goes up and we dip down to 9.8 and then need to wait 6 months to bring it back up to 10? So that's just my hesitant. I don't want to jump the gun and like pat
And I
ourselves
agree
on
with
the
that.
back
I mean,
before
now that
we
we've
get
been
there.
able to discuss it and you put, I mean, that seems very reasonable, knowing that we still have expenses
Still
and
have
a year and a half to
half.
go.
I also feel like, did we reach this so quickly because of, you know, we got all that extra COVID money? And we were able to do things. I mean, that is probably the only positive out of COVID, is we've been able to do things that we put off for many years.
Well,
Not
we
many
didn't
years.
get that much money. I mean,
Oh, wait, yeah, okay.
Adam's like,
Later,
Pat, don't
I mean,
stop
The
Pat.
$184,000 we got for, you know, ESER 1 was appreciated, but it's not a lasting, systemic, game-changing
Yeah.
event for the district.
I will, I'll back
We
up.
got a couple of custodians out of it,
Yeah.
which is good, but.
You're right, we didn't get millions for everybody who's watching, back that up. But we've been able to do some things sooner than not and got custodians and stuff, so.
I just use the opportunity just to remind, I'm neutral on the wording, I mean, it would take me 3 seconds to update it on the webpage. This year's budget is still up in the air, right, because we don't have enrollment now down, we don't have state per pupil funding now down. But the bigger question mark is the following year, where we have a bubble that we've talked about in terms of what our commitments are from a financial standpoint. We've tried to plan ahead by rolling money forward to cover that. And they're good expenses, right? I mean, we're trying to stay competitive and have the kind of programs, facilities, and educators in the district that the community wants us to have. But it comes at a cost. And this goal would still be in effect during the budgeting year of that year that, you know, there's some concern around. Yeah. Well, 23, 24.
Yeah.
But again, changing it from increase to maintain would take me, on this, seconds. You know, it's just, you might still see the stuff that we hung around the district and, you know, the different papers that we've distributed and things like that. It's leviable language, so it's, I don't really have my main concern is just making sure to reiterate that we got some big expenses coming down the road so that there's not surprises when.
So, Julie, are you okay just leaving the word
I
in
am
as
okay
is?
just
Is
leaving it.
everybody okay leaving the word in as is? I appreciate you, because that is, I mean, I appreciate you bringing it up, because it was something to think about, so I thank you for that, but.
Just another point to this too. When I'm talking with people, community or council or whoever, when I'm just out of the different groups I communicate with, you know, we do emphasize that we've surpassed the 10% piece, so and the significance of why that's important. I know Sarah's been working on the state aid note, and again, just one of the significant benefits of having higher fund balance is the amount of money we have to borrow to run the district between when our fiscal year starts and when we receive our first state aid note. The more fund balance you have, the less you have to borrow to cover that difference, which means the less interest we're paying, which means less money, the more money we're able to put back into stuff that actually goes to kids, supports our staff, versus just throwing it away to interest payments. So, again, not necessarily around the goal itself, but just kind of a reminder about why the fund balance is more important than just having the high number. It actually does benefit
something for us.
the district and students directly.
So we don't have to do anything, we don't have to move this for action or anything, it was a discussion, we're all good keeping the wording the way we are? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna move into our action items. Do I have a motion for our routine consent calendar?
Make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular, we're on this one, right? Regular board meeting held on June 6th.
Second.
Davis second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, we have some roll call items. The first, I gotta put my glasses on for this, sorry. The first, can I please have a motion to ratify the agreement with the Transportation Association?
Make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education ratify the agreement with the Williamston Transportation Association.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm gonna go with Sarah, because I think I heard her first. Julie, will you take us through roll call, please?
Deb?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes?
Nancy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Julie, yes.
Thank you. Next, can I please have a motion to approve the 2021 final budget amendment?
Be it resolved that the general fund appropriation for the Williamston Community Schools District for the fiscal year of 2021-2022, which include 18 mills of ad valorem property taxes to be levied on non-homestead and non-qualified agricultural property, and 0 mills on homestead and qualified agricultural property be used for operating purposes, be adopted as follows. Total available to appropriate, $26,086,973. Be it further resolved that $23,209,755 of the total available to appropriate in the general fund is hereby appropriated in the amounts for the purposes set forth below. Expenditures for total instruction, $12,647,255. Total support services, $10,337,343. Total facilities acquisition, $100,000. Total other finance usage, $125,157. Total expenditures, $23,209,755. This resolution shall take immediate effect.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Julie, will you take us through roll call, please?
Yeah. Deb?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes?
Nancy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Julie, yes.
Thank you. Motion
Motion.
carries. I also do want to let everybody know these motions are really long, and because it's financial, we do have to read the whole thing. So, may I please have a motion to approve the 22-23 general fund?
Be it resolved that the general fund appropriation for the Williamston Community Schools District for the fiscal year 2022 through 23, which includes 18 mills of ad valorem property taxes to be levied on non-homestead and non-qualified agricultural property, and 0 mills on homestead and qualified agricultural property to be used for operating purposes, be adopted as follows. Total available to appropriate, $26,438,475. Be it further resolved that $23,461,257 of the total available to appropriate in the general fund is hereby appropriated in the amounts and for the purposes set forth below. Expenditures, total instruction, $13,347,543. Total support services, $9,421,148. Total facilities acquisition, $567,409. Total other financing uses, $125,157. And total expenditures, $23,461,257. This resolution shall take immediate effect.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Julie, will you take us through roll call, please?
Yes. Deb?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes?
Dave?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Julie, yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. May I please have a motion for the 22-23 food service fund?
Be it resolved that the Food Services Fund appropriation for the Williamston Community Schools District for the fiscal year 2022-23 be adopted as follows. Revenues, $50. Revenues local, $50. State, $16,435. Federal, $495,000. Total revenues, $511,485. Operating transfer in from general fund, 0. Total appropriation, $511,485. Be it further resolved that $511,485 of the total available to appropriate in the Food Services Fund is hereby appropriated in the amounts and for the purposes set forth below. Expenditures, food services, $511,485. Total appropriated, $511,485. This resolution shall take immediate effect.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Julie, will you take us through roll call, please?
Yes. Deb?
Yes?
Chris?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Julie? Yes. Motion passes.
Motion passes. Can I please have a motion for the 22-23 Community Service Fund?
Be it resolved that the Community Services Fund appropriated for the Williamston Community Schools District for the financial year of 2022-23 be adopted as follows. Revenues, local, $348,350. State, $0. Federal, $0. Total revenue, $348,350. Operating transfer in from general fund, $0. Total appropriation, $348,350. Be it further resolved that $348,350 of the total available to appropriate in the Community Services Fund is hereby appropriated in the amounts and for the purposes set forth below. Expenditures, community service, $348,350. Total appropriated, $348,350. This resolution shall take immediate effect.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Julie, will you take us through roll call, please?
I will. Deb?
Yes?
Chris?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Julie? Yes. Motion passes.
Can I please have a motion for the 22-23 Special Revenue Fund?
Be it resolved that the Special Revenue Fund appropriation for the Williamston Community Schools District for the fiscal year of 2022-23 be adopted as follows. Revenues, local, $350,000. Total revenue, $350,000. Operating transfer in from general funds, $0. Total appropriation, $350,000. Be it further resolved that $350,000 of the total available to appropriate in the Special Revenue Fund is hereby appropriated in the amounts and for the purposes set forth below. Expenditures, special revenue, $350,000. Total appropriated, $350,000. This resolution shall take immediate effect.
Do I have a second?
Second?
And Julie, will you take us through roll call?
Deb?
Yes?
Chris?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Julie? Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for the 2022 Summer Tax Rate Request, please?
I make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education hereby certifies the following tax levies for the 2022 summer property tax collections, and that the acting secretary of the Board of Education may sign the final certificates of taxes, City of Williamston and Meridian Township only. 8.8851 mils for general operation non-homestead only. 1.75 mils for the 1996 debt. 1.50 mils for the 2015 Series A debt, 0.50 mils for the 2019 refunding, 0.17 mils for the 2021 refunding, 0.3644 mils for the recreation millage, 0.4912 mils for the sinking fund. That the Williamston Board of Education authorize the superintendent or the director of finance to borrow up to $2.5 million July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, as per the resolution authorizing issuance of payment of state school aid as presented.
Can I have a second?
Second?
Julie, will you take us through roll call, please?
Yes, I will. Deb?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Julie? Yes. Motion passed.
Thank you. And can I have our last ones, well, for roll call? State aid, a motion for state aid fund cash flow borrowing.
I motion that the Williamston Board of Education authorize the superintendent or director of finance to borrow up to $2.5 million July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, as per the resolution authorizing issuance of notes in anticipation of state school aid as presented.
Second.
Discussion? I accidentally put that in with the last question.
So you did the motions together?
Yes, you did.
Go ahead.
I think we're fine.
You think we're okay? So do we, so should I just keep this motion with Julie and Dave and have her take us through roll call? Okay. So Julie, made the motion, Dave seconded. Julie, will you take us through
Yes.
roll call, please?
Deb?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Julie? Yes. Motion passed.
Okay. Whew, I don't think we've ever had that many roll call votes. Thank you very much, Acting Secretary. Can I please have a motion to approve the Kids Corner Little Hornets Family Handbook?
Make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education approve the 2022-23 Kids Corner Little Hornets Family Handbook as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Dave, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. May I please have a motion to approve the purchase of the elementary English language art curriculum?
Move that the Williamston Board of Education approve the purchase of bookworms as the ELA standards and literacy essentials curriculum at the cost of $119,160.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Can I please have a motion to approve the breakfast and lunch prices for 2022 and 2023?
Make a motion that that effective with the 2022-23 school year, the Williamston Board of Education approve the following price increases for breakfast and lunch. Breakfast for all grades raised to $2.25 per meal. Lunch for grades young 5s raised to $3.25 per meal. Lunch for grades 6 through 12 raised to $3.50 per meal.
Do I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
Did you second?
Mhm.
Second, Julie, is there any discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, and I waited until the motion was read.
You did.
Yeah,
You
so
did.
I'm
Good.
getting better.
Look at
Yeah, so I just want the kind of background for the board. I think, the pay and take lunch equity tool, which works for lunch prices, and then the breakfast is kind of the food service director's kind of assessment of the totality of what's going on with different costs and expenses. So the goal here was to try to meet families in the middle. The cost that we're anticipating for food service next year is going to probably easily exceed what the increases here. I know Jim's talking about, Jim Davis is talking like paper products alone are going to be like 20 to 22% more expensive. Food prices are 17% higher. So when you're looking at the increases here, and we're going to be paying at least 17% more for food. We're still, the district as a whole, still eating a good chunk of that. So we're not passing all this on to families. So just want to kind of reiterate, we're looking at kind of a middle ground.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. May I please have a motion to approve the Michigan Association of School Boards 22-23 membership dues?
Make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education approve Michigan Association membership dues for 22-23. Also, this will approve the purchase of a district video to be produced by the MAS
Second, Dave. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. At the bottom of there, we have our board goals. On the last pages, we do have quite a few correspondence from different staff members who are retiring, staff members who have resigned. I do want to note the resignation of Katie Nolan. I know I did have a couple of questions that it looked like it was a termination. Most people give us a resignation letter. We haven't received that, so they put that in there. She was not terminated. She resigned. And when we have teachers or staff that retire, it's kind of bittersweet. They've served our community and we've gotten the benefit of their expertise, and then they get to move on to bigger and better things, and it's always kind of a bittersweet happiness for them. Some of these individuals moving on and resigned, it's a little tough. They've been exemplary in their positions. I would like to specifically point out Katie Nolan. She was with us for 23 years. She was a fabulous teacher. Students loved her, parents loved her. She really moved those students to where they needed to be, and she will be greatly missed in our English department. A personal note, my youngest daughter was not a big writer, and she worked with Katie for, 6 months or something, and raised her ACT writing score 10 points. And my daughter's not alone in those stories that are out there in the community. So this is a tough one, a great loss for our district. DeWitt is gaining an exceptional individual and teacher, so I wish her the best.
Yeah, I know it's not discussion, but hopefully we can set aside that. But yes, specifically thinking about Katie, I call her Miss Nolan because when I had her as a teacher, I was her first class out of college, and she was Miss Nolan. So it does hit a little different when you personally have been affected as a student, and then the teacher moves on. So very well-respected teacher. Good luck to her. She's watching this.
Tough one.
Big loss.
Go ahead.
No, I also want to draw attention to Gabby Wendell's retirement. 24 years in the district, kind of worked behind the scenes in central office, and was a very significant contributor. We're hoping to have her back part-time in the fall. I think she's still interested in coming back and helping with bus dispatching. And so just didn't want to let this go without. She was a late decision, and so missed some of the celebrations we did earlier in the year. So just wanted to make sure to recognize her 24 years of service to our district.
It's a long time. So I wish all of them the very best. Moving on. Next, citizen comments. Do we have any at this time? Board member reports and requests. I also kind of want to just stack on what Chris and Adam said. The soccer game on Saturday, the stands were packed. Lots of families there this was exciting for me to see. Lots of little girls, lots of soccer girls coming, that play club or somewhere in our district or whatever the young youth soccer clubs are. Cheering on those older girls and looking up to them and wanting to be them, and heard a couple of them, just idolizing them as they were walking on their way out, and wanted to see them and touch them and stay for a picture. It was pretty fun to see. So congratulations to them. I also want to say, I got there a little early, saw the team before us who received their trophy. And I found this very interesting, and it just kind of clicked watching different coaches. As Chris mentioned, our 2 coaches that won state championships. A lot of the coaches, when they were presented with the trophy, they took the trophy themselves and then gave it to the girls. both Tom Lewis and, why can't I think of our soccer coach?
Steve Horn.
Steve Horn allowed those girls and boys to take that trophy by themselves, and they stood off to the side in the limelight, and that just, I think, goes to both of those gentlemen's character and their coaching styles, and how fortunate we have been.
Yeah, on another personal note, I am a varsity alumni of the girls soccer program, and I remember in middle school we didn't even have a program. I mean, it was 1996 when this program started. So when you think about how much has evolved in such a really short amount of time, when you think about it compared to other sports that we've had in our district, it's just really remarkable. Those girls played exceptionally well, and my little girl was one of them in the stands that wants to be a soccer player just like them. And so I think that next generation
Yeah.
being enthusiastic about our program, and kudos to them. They deserve all the athletes that they would be.
Yeah, he did. It was a
Well,
great game.
you got kudos to Michigan State because that complex is awesome. And
Isn't
any
it?
little girl walking into that
I
thing
mean,
thinking they
it's
want to
changed
be
a lot. It
a
used to be-
soccer,
It
I
has-
mean,
it
it
has
was,
changed a lot.
It used to be just a dirt path.
Yeah.
With someone taking your ticket. Now it's.
But it was, I was also thinking, baseball, softball, and soccer going on at the same time, this is gonna be a nightmare, but it's
it
not.
really wasn't, it was
Like,
nice.
you feel like it's so close, but it wasn't. It was exceptional. It was fun seeing even athletes from all over, and it was really
And a quick note, we were the only public school to be in the finals for girls soccer out of all the different divisions.
wow.
So I think that's pretty remarkable in itself.
It's true. That is very neat. Anything else? All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
So first by Sarah, second by Chris. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? No. You guys go out and enjoy this wonderful warm day.
Somebody had said that we were the only public school to win state championship in that